I see the Zoom room is starting to fill up. It is almost noon. And it's time for another session of our virtual speaker series. Go ahead and use the chat at the bottom of your Zoom video window and let us know who you are and where you're zooming in from today. We will be getting started in just a minute with John Affleck talking about big sports and how Penn State students cover major sporting events. I see the Zoom room is filling up. If you are just joining us, go ahead and drop who you are and where you're zooming in from today in the chat at the bottom of your Zoom video window. We will be getting started in just a minute with our virtual speaker session featuring John Affleck talking about big sports and how Penn State students cover major sporting events. And I note that I was muted, so let's start right back at the top and welcome everybody into today's virtual speaker session. I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and our session is titled Big Sports, How Penn State Students Cover Major Sporting Events. Live closed captions are available. You can access them by clicking the closed caption button on the bottom of your Zoom video window and then clicking Show Subtitle. You may also customize your caption view by clicking the stream text link posted in the chat. And we are live streaming today's presentation, which will be archived on our website following the program. Today's guest, John Affleck, is the director of the John Curley Center for Sports Journalism and the Knight Chair of Sports Journalism and Society here at Penn State. He also serves as the head of the journalism department in the Donald P. Bellisario College of Communications. His students have reported from Ireland, England, Scotland, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Brazil, and New Zealand during his tenure at Penn State. Professor Affleck joined the faculty in 2013, following a 22-year career as an award-winning editor and reporter at the Associated Press. He's led student teams all over the globe covering major sporting events from the Little League World Series to the Women's World Cup. Work by students on such projects, including print stories, photo, and documentary films, have won major student journalism awards. Right now, please help me welcome Professor Affleck to the virtual speaker series, and I'll turn it over to you, John.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in today. Really appreciate your time and hope to tell you a little bit about what we do here in the Bellisario College of Communications when it comes to sports journalism and the implications of sports for society, which is part of our adventure. So, Kate, if you want to get us up and rolling on the PowerPoint, that would be fantastic. Okay. Let's go to the first slide, please. Guys, I'm not seeing the first slide. Okay, great. Here we go. So this is just a little introduction to the Curley Center, which I run, and then we're going to focus in particular on our latest big project, which was covering the Women's World Cup in the group stage in New Zealand. So there we go. That's our logo, which has a little bit of a funny story. A student designed that, and he just wanted. This is actually before my time, but the order was, make it look cool. So he made something that looked cool, and it's supposed to look a little bit like a soccer shield that the players wear on their breast pocket. So there we go. Next slide, please. There's no quiz, but so don't worry about it. But here's a little Curley Center 101. Next slide, please. So here is our story. Let's move to the next slide again. In 2003, we had a couple of people here who were instrumental in bringing the center to life. Next slide, please. Doug Anderson, who's the former dean in the what was then just the College of Communications, and John Curley. John was the one of the founders of USA Today, the newspaper, and he also was a professor in retirement at Penn State. And he had the idea that a great way to teach students journalism is through sports, and sort of the cliche being like, would you rather go to the baseball game or the city council meeting? And so you can teach the same writing and reporting skills through sports as you can in news, only there's a little bit of the spoonful of sugar thing. So they created the Curley Center for Sports Journalism, and a few years after it was started in 2003, the Knight Foundation, which is a philanthropic organization that focuses on journalism and communities, funded a chair, a faculty position for the Curley Center, and I am the second person to hold the chair. Malcolm Moran, a great friend and a great reporter for the New York Times and USA Today, had it for 5 years, and then I came in 2013. Next slide. The key points about our history is that we are the first program of our kind. We later this semester will celebrate our 20th anniversary with Ryan Hawkinsmith, a great feature writer for ESPN, will come in and give a lecture on the Thursday of homecoming week. And then on the Friday, we'll have a little reception in the Curley Center in the Bellisario Media Center on that Friday. If you're in town, I certainly welcome you to come visit us and say hello, particularly if you're in the Belt. We're a graduate of the program, but even if you weren't. That's the first point. We were the first of our kind, and and now certainly upwards of 70, probably more like 100 schools have some kind of sports journalism program, but they don't do it like we do it. And Knight Foundation gave us endowment money. That's really important because it helps us fund cut some of the costs of some of these big projects that we do. And we get increasing support from alumni such as yourselves and friends of the college. And that's instrumental in us being able to pull off some of the things that we do to great effect for the students' lives, and honestly, to really have an impact on sports journalism, period. So even in the wider world. So next slide, please. Today, more than 1,000 students have graduated with a Curley Center certificate. It's a certificate that you can earn. It's an academic certificate, first of all, that you can earn in the college by taking some sports journalism, sports media courses, and doing what we call a work experience, which can be an internship or it can be working for one of the organizations in our media ecosystem that we have here at Bellisario. Everything from the Collegian and onward to PSN TV and Com Radio. About 1,000 students. Next slide, please. They are all over the media landscape. They're every place from The Athletic to ESPN to NBC Sports to the NFL. ESPN, I'll tell you, it's funny. I visited there a few years ago, and there is actually a hallway in Bristol where you walk down the hallway to the cafeteria, and you hit a button, and you can select which fight song you will hear as you walk down the hall. And it's a joke that like the default fight song is ours, is Penn State's. So that's kind of cool. And success breeds success. The more people who are out there, the more people hear about us, the more students want to come here, the more people we have in the business. And you folks know better than anybody how well our Penn State alumni connection and love really helps people in their careers. So next slide, please. Academically, every semester, we always offer sports writing, sports broadcast, and sports information courses. Very often I'll teach sports writing. Sports broadcast is taught by Steve Jones, voice of the Nittany Lions, and sports information bounces around a little bit, but it's the idea of being the information officer, the stratcom officer for a team. In addition to these courses, we always also have more. Sometimes I teach a course in sports media and society. That's about the interplay of culture and sports. My title as a night chair is a night chair in sports journalism and society. And we take the and society part pretty seriously. It's more than just learning how to, read scores. It's about the story of the games and what the games mean to people. I think we learn a lot about our culture through sports. And so we always have that. Then one of the things that we do is we have sports projects, and this has taken many forms. Let's go to the next slide and see what we got. As Paul said, we've had all sorts of adventures in terms of where we've been. The top photo you see here is our students covering baseball in Cuba. When the Penn State baseball team went there, we were sort of, I would say we were the Gemini mission to Cuba when Obama went there, President Obama went there, and Major League Baseball was played in Cuba. We went to all the same places a few months earlier, met many of the same people. We watched Penn State baseball become the first collegiate team to play teams in the national series. And, we wrote great stories, had great photos, and we also, actually were recording the games live and sending them back on Com Radio so people could hear broadcasts of the games. Below, you'll see a photo of a bunch of people, including our student, Anna Patingalo. She's the woman in the white T-shirt. She's now an SID at Princeton University. Interviewing Tatiana McFadden, who is one of the greatest Paralympians ever, an American wheelchair racer. And Anna got to know Tatiana so well that she went to her house after the games were over, and we did a big profile of her that was an award-winning story and very helpful. So, but in every case, like with Cuba, we're talking about baseball and the importance. We wrote stories about the importance of baseball. And the increasing importance of soccer in Cuba as a cultural outlet, as a way of them talking about what a country they were. We picked the Paralympics, partly because the Paralympics are undercovered, and we wanted to give voice to people with disabilities who are elite athletes. So as I say, always a cultural side. And it's no mistake, it's not an accident that we wound up at the Women's World Cup, which gets a little bit less attention than the men, and certainly has fewer reporters covering it. So next slide. We get students work out in front of the public. So our let's go to the next slide. Our work has, when we do some of these projects, we are typically partnering with a professional news organization, such as the Associated Press, which is my corporate alma mater, so to speak, and is a great place as a training ground because the AP is so absolutely down the middle, dead neutral for what it does. It's the news. It's hard news, delivered quickly to over 4 billion people a day, which is a staggering number to think about. But our students can get in there and they can do that. We've also given our copy to the Pennsylvania newspapers in an organization called the Pennsylvania News Media Association. We've worked with USA Today Sports Network, covering the US Open for golf at Oakmont in Pittsburgh, which is a fantastic experience. And we've been very successful doing it. Hearst, which is the biggest, most competitive college journalism program. This past year, my first year as department chair, we won the overall award for news writing, and part of that was sports writing. And in sports writing, for the last 7 years, we've scored more points than any other school. We won 7 scholarships from the Jim Murray Foundation, which is about writing sports columns. We've won regional Emmys for sports. We've done 3 sports documentaries, and our group that is in our chapter of the Association for Women in Sports Media, known as Awesome, has been the chapter of the year twice. And even I have won awards. I was your alumni teaching fellow in 2019, 2020. Behind me is, among the plaques there is my award for that. So let's keep moving. Let's get to New Zealand here. Next slide, please. We're innovative sports documentaries. Our latest sports documentary is called Dirt Circus. It's about dirt track racing. It premieres on Tuesday, August 29th. If you're in town at the Roxy in Lock Haven, please come along. Tickets are $5, and all proceeds go to the emergency services people who work at Clinton County Speedway. And it's a great slice of life about dirt track racing, super popular in Pennsylvania. Next slide, please. Okay, I talked a little bit about our professional partners already, but these are some of the things that we've gone to with them: Little League, Super Bowl, Paralympics, 2013 World Cup. The thing I'm going to do when we hang up today is I'm going to edit the first story of our Little League coverage for the Associated Press. Let's keep going. Next slide, please. AP partnership was another one for us in New Zealand. Per the AP's own page on who we are, 4 billion people see AP journalism every day. AP's values are accurate, fact-based, meaning we don't make stuff up, and we don't say what we know. We don't say we know something unless we know it. We're nonpartisan. We do not take party positions. We're also speedy and direct. But what I would say, and that's the style. That's me talking about the style more than anything else. But the AP would rather be right than first. So I like those values. That's why they're a good partner. Next slide, please. So for New Zealand, let me just say one thing that happened as a result of COVID was we had a little extra money in the till because in 2020 and 2021, we couldn't really travel. And so we had a little bit of extra money in the stash. And we thought about the best program we could possibly put together. And New Zealand was an obvious choice for the Women's World Cup this year. It's a challenge. It's a logistical challenge. New Zealand had in the group stage, which is just in case you don't know, the Women's World Cup is a 32-team tournament that takes place over a month. The first stage of it is there are 8 divisions of 4, and they play round robin. And then the top 2 teams in each division go to the knockout rounds. So we covered every match in the group stage that was held in New Zealand. The hosts were New Zealand and Australia. And New Zealand had half the divisions. We had 4 divisions. So we had 9 students and 5 faculty in 4 cities where the matches were played. And then we worked at all the games. We wrote stories about many of the games. Photographers shot the games. And then we had stories off the games. Next slide, please. That's some of our students, by the way, not all of it. Here is the bottom line on how we did. In 15 days of work, we produced 36 stories. In addition to game copy, each student writing produced a big feature that was featured on the AP's Daily Digest, its daily compilation of the biggest and best stories that they had today. Photographers' work was absolutely outstanding. Just one member of our team noted her work featured in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, CNN, the Guardian, the Toronto Star, NBC News, the Tampa Bay Times, Estadio, USA Today, and of course, the AP. Next slide, please. Examples of some of the big writing stories that we had that really took off. We did a big story on the LGBTQ community and its visibility in the fandom and the players at the games. This isn't advocacy. This is telling it like it is. There were more out athletes over 90 at this World Cup than ever before. And so it was really notable. It really took off as a story. People were really interested in that. Another story that we had that was just huge was that we did the research on how many players came from US colleges. And that isn't just US players, it's places like the Philippines and New Zealand and other English-speaking places, but non-English speaking places too. 1 in 6 players at the World Cup has played college sports, college soccer in the USA. And that's the result of Title IX, which equalized federal funding for men's and women's sports. So the United States, part of the reason the United States has been so dominant in soccer and in the Olympics is that women have had bigger opportunities quicker in America than in other countries to become athletes, and it shows. And this story got noted on the Fox broadcast with a specific reference to the story and compliments to the reporter on how much research he did. So we were very proud of that. We did a story on how hard penalty kicks are. Note the US collapse in the knockout rounds, which is partly due to that. There was a coach from the Maori people in New Zealand who we profiled, and that was very interesting about it's such a soccer mad country, and she's a women's coach, so a couple of things make it hard. We wrote a fun story about Dunedin, which is the farthest south point the World Cup has ever been played. It's a place where you can go see penguins on your off day. And so we wrote about that. That was really good. And then we did a nice story on the lessons learned. This World Cup had had 8 teams that it expanded by 8 teams to 32 in the field. And it had 8 teams that debuted for the very first time in the tournament. And most did very poorly. But we interviewed the players at the end and coaches at the end about what they learned by playing at the world stage and the world level. And they had some interesting insights. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I'm just going to close and I'm just going to show you how great our students' work was in photos. Let's enjoy this gallery. Okay, next slide. This is Lindsay Horan, the American captain. This is shot by Alyssa Rubin that went everywhere everywhere in the news media after she knocked in a header and tied the Netherlands in that group stage game. Next photo. I love the emotion. This is another one of Haran. This is another angle that Alyssa got of Lindsay, celebrating that goal, and sort of, it's called popping her collar, which the gesture she's doing. So next slide. This is a shot by Rafael Apontes. It's in the very first match for the US. That's Alex Morgan fighting with the Vietnamese goalie for control of the ball. I just love the action in this shot. Next photo, or next slide. And this is where it went. This is the newsletter for the New York Times, going out to millions of people every day. And the lead photo on the World Cup briefing from the New York Times was our photo. So we're very proud of that. Next shot. Next slide. This is another great one. I think I just love the emotion of this. This is a Philippines player. This is CNN's gallery of the top photos of the day. This Philippines player, they just lost and they got knocked out of the tournament. But she's giving the heart symbol to fans in the stands. And I just, she's crying, and yet she's showing her respect for the fans. And I just love that contrast. Next slide, please. And this is our last slide. I think this is just an incredible human moment. Megan Rapinoe comforting the player from Portugal. I don't know if you saw the US game against Portugal. Portugal was a huge underdog and almost knocked the USA out of the tournament at that point, but their shot hit the post. And this is the player, Jessica Silva, whose shot hit the post, and this is post game. So I just think you learn a lot about sports from that photo, and it also did very well. And I believe that's it. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm happy to take questions.
So if you have any questions for John, you could drop them in the Q&A tab on the bottom of the screen. And I will pass them along to him. John, we did have a couple questions that came in beforehand though, John. Let me get to some of those. Does your personal image matter when getting assignments, and how does it matter?
Sure. I guess I'm assuming the question is about Penn State as an entity, and the Curley Center as an entity, as opposed to how the students get picked. So yes, I mean, the thing about the Curley Center is that our track record over 20 years is we've developed quite a substantially good track record. Malcolm, obviously my predecessor, has an unimpeachable reputation in journalism circles. I had 22 years at the AP. I've worked in news. I've worked in sports. I think I'm regarded as somebody you have to take seriously. And I've written a lot of sports commentary, and I was a reporter as well. So there's sort of all of that. And then Penn State, just every time you do something that's eye-catching, like what we just did in New Zealand, people realize it and they think about you the next time. They think about hey, they'd be good to partner with, or let's do it again. I mean, I can't get into it too much, but there's already discussions about the next thing.
John, give us a sense for the experience that the students have. How much access do they get on site? Are they treated like other journalists, or is there, the picture of Lindsay Haran, for example, that student had to have been right on the field, right behind the barriers with the other press. Talk about the level of access that our journalists get. Yeah,
they so this was a particularly good thing that happened with this World Cup, was that the AP actually credentialed us. We were under, it said it says Associated Press on all of our credentials. So we get treated pretty much just like the AP, and we got pitch spots. By that I mean positions on the field for the photographers, just like all the other reporters were in all the news conferences, just like all the reporters. We had a proud moment was when one of our reporters asked the Argentine coach a question in Spanish, which the other American reporters could not do. And so that was really cool. But we're pretty much right there, right with them. That's true at Little League as well. That's basically the case with all of these. They have the same access. Now, someone who's been in the business, I was careful to say, in the journalism, I said to the students, look, in the journalism forest, the people you're working with are big oak trees and you guys are seedlings, but you are in the forest and you are growing, and they, take advantage of the opportunity. And we really had a great group of students who were not shy about piping up and asking what they needed to know.
John, earlier in the presentation, you talked about, would you rather cover the baseball game or the city council meeting? And you talked about how the basic elements of reporting are the same. Maybe for those of us who don't understand kind of those basic elements, can you walk us through the basic elements of reporting?
Sure. I'll do that by talking about covering a game. Basically, if you can cover a game of any kind, any sport, and give a good story, create a good story about the results of the game, you can write about an election, you can write about a court verdict, you can write about a meeting, you can write about a moonshot, because the way the traditional sports story goes, and these are the kinds of stories we were writing at the game itself, is it's the cliche is you're talking to your mom later, or you're at the bar and somebody asks you, hey, what happened at the game tonight? And you say what you say, which is usually something like, hey, Saquon Barkley scored 2 touchdowns, and our defense made a great stand and we won the game. Right. And the score was this. And that's what a great sports lead does. It's basically, there's almost a cookie cutter formula to it. It's somebody does something fantastic and their team won by this score on this date in this competition. And if you get that right, if you think about what that is, it's who did it, when they did it, how they did it, and what the significance of what they did is. And if you think about that, that's not that much different than so-and-so beat so-and-so in the mayor's race. And, that means that this party will have control and their agenda is going to be the agenda that moves us forward. Same, I could go on, but you get the idea. And that's really how it works. And it sounds easy on deadline. It's really hard because, you've got to figure out what is the most significant thing. That's the thing you've really got to, that's the core thing. And then you've got to express it really cleanly and quickly.
Now, what does preparation look like for a trip with students? So take us to the prep for the World Cup, right? Obviously, you're going to look at the games and the results of the games, but then how do you determine what other, quote unquote, like special interest stories or the societal aspect of covering a World Cup might be? Are there, is it like a typical pre-planning like newsroom where you say, okay, here's all the ideas and you pitch ideas? How does that work when you're taking a group of students?
It develops sort of slowly. And then we get to sort of a critical point where everyone's informed, and then we start to brainstorm ideas. That's the short answer. Usually for something of this magnitude, there's a course or a series of meetings that we have the semester prior to the event. And so the students study both the sport and the event. So we're learning about the US team, the teams involved, and we're learning about particular things you say when you're covering soccer. And some of the students were selected because they have a particular aptitude and interest in soccer. Some of the students were picked because they have a particular skill in sports writing, period. And once you have that, you can kind of move it to whatever sport you need to. But you're basically right. But they learned about the stories that were going on. Simultaneously, we were doing on a parallel track, we were learning about New Zealand. So we had a couple of days where we had presentations on the history of New Zealand, culture of New Zealand, food, what they do for fun, like what's cool in New Zealand, that so that when we land, we can be good tourists and we aren't just like, hey, are we in Australia? So we want to avoid really obvious, embarrassing missteps. And so that's how it works. And then once everybody gets a certain level of fluency, it works pretty easily. You begin to see something that's like, oh, that's interesting, that's new. And we talk about it every day. We had morning meetings where the faculty member in each city we talk about what we were seeing and what students had pointed out. They pitched stories. So yeah, it's a very collaborative, interactive, exciting environment where we're just always sort of talking about what we're seeing and whether we think it's worth writing about.
You showed a picture of Megan Rapinoe, an outspoken advocate and the pay equity topic that has been, really consuming women's soccer for the past probably 4 years, if not longer. And oftentimes they will cite the attention that women's sports get vis-a-vis men's sports, right? What do you think the role of media is to provide equitable coverage what is the role of media in this difficult topic?
I think I honestly think it's really important for media not to give short shrift to women's sports. Basically, I think one of the things we can do in a societal way is that we can cover women's sports. We can cover undercovered areas that are highly competitive and skilled. The gap is, in a world sense, perhaps narrowest for soccer because the women are obviously gaining in skill and becoming important. And I'm sure that Sunday's final in the World Cup, whoever is in it, will be a massive, massive television event all over the world. But it's interesting. Before we got on, we were chatting a little bit about we got to know some of the FIFA people, and they're really true believers in the idea that if women's sports is important, then women become important in societies, and then women have equal rights. So it goes farther than just pay for athletes. It goes toward treatment of women as workers and women in society, and that's really, really important thing to do. And I'm proud of our students for having been a part of it in that sense.
Question that came in earlier is, and I'm not sure the angle that they're asking this from, but which women's sports are considered major?
Oh, that's interesting. I think it kind of parallels men's sports. I would say probably soccer and basketball and athletics, meaning track and field, and gymnastics and swimming are the really obvious picks. But I got to tell you, in New Zealand, rugby, there is a part of the world that is rugby obsessed, and when the All Blacks, when the All Blacks is the men's team, when the Ferns play, everything stops and people watch in that country. So it varies a little bit by where you are on the planet. But for America, I'd say those things. And I mean, what I would say is that the Olympic sports for women are really important because women have we have gotten to the point where women are featured more on NBC's coverage of the Olympics than men are. And in fact, women are the reason the United States keeps winning the overall medal count, because the US women on their own would be like the 5th country at the Olympics. So, we naturally sort of pay attention to those sports because we're winning at those sports. That's just something every country does. They tend to pay attention to what they're good at. In New Zealand, rugby, sailing, that sort of thing.
It's interesting. I think about women's sports. You mentioned soccer and basketball, right? There's the WNBA in the United States. There's the NWSL for women's soccer. And yet, it still seems as if there's a regionalization to how popular women's sports are. We lived in Oregon. We went to see the Timbers, which is the men's MLS team. And we were also fans of the Thorns, who had, almost not as many people attend, but a significant number of people in the tens to 15,000 people come out for their games. We then go see that same Thorns team play in New York City in front of 1,000 people in the stadium. I mean, the stadium was empty. I think of women's basketball. I think of the crowds that they get up in Connecticut and Seattle for WNBA games, and maybe not as much in Atlanta. How much does kind of regional affinity play into the popularity of women's sports?
That's a great question. I don't have any data on it, but just I observe the same thing you're observing. I think the importance of world events like the Women's World Cup really also plays into it. When you see the hoopla and all of the crowds and the big moment and the big lights, it really makes a difference. I think this particular World Cup may have less of an impact than in our country than it's going to have in others, because time difference.
Right.
The US women got knocked out and in the round of 16, although I do think this is just one man's opinion, but the US has a bid to host in 2027. And I think if the Americans had won, that bid would have a harder time. But now that it's like, they know that there's a lot of interest in in this sport in the United States. They know it'll be a revenge tour kind of a situation. That adds to the drama of putting it in the USA. So that'll be interesting. So, but meanwhile, in the other places, you'll see women's soccer is going to get a tremendous boost in Australia from this, who are semifinalists. We'll find out if they're in the finals tomorrow. Certainly England, which is, the European champion and that sort of thing. And Spain, which basically came out of nowhere and there were 6 in the world, but they are a really, really great team coming into the finals. It's going to change the equation in Europe. And you might start to see some of the money that's been going to the men a lot. We have these other leagues in Europe, and all of a sudden it's going to pop up, and those stadiums can be used more than the 19 days that you use them in the Premier League.
Well, I hope we get the Women's World Cup to come to the United States. That'd be fantastic. We went to the 2015 World Cup when it was in Canada. We saw a game in Vancouver, and it's unlike any other sporting event we went to. I mean, certainly, you go to Beaver Stadium or you go to a Rose Bowl, and there's a lot of people, but there's something about when people come from all over the world to participate in something, and it's more than just the actual 2 hours of a game, that there's the lead up and interacting with people from all over the world. And I think that really gets into the society piece that you're talking about, whether it's how internationalization helps people from around the world get along better, to how music and dance and like the whole hip hop culture around how that's infused in the NBA and basketball. There's so many different kind of crossovers between sports and other things in society that make for compelling stories.
Mhm. Absolutely. And there's a sort of a sense of like um, center of gravity feeling. And I think I've been to both the Olympics and now 2 World Cups. And the World Cup is more intense when you're in the building because the Olympics are diffuse. You know, they give medals for a lot of different things. And hey, even if you lost something that um, you know, were really hoping your country would win, there's this other sport where you won and you didn't expect to win. So I mean, the gold medals was gold medal, but like there's this sort of real investment. You know, the U.S. fans walking in together and all that sort of stuff at the World Cup is pretty dramatic. And so you really feel the power of it.
Now, John, you and your students are back here in the States from the World Cup, but the work for the AP and for FIFA hasn't stopped yet. You were talking about a project that your students are working on. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, sure. I'll tell you 2 things. First of all, back here, their classwork isn't over. Everyone's taking their photos and putting together galleries, and the students are taking feature stories that they got, ideas that they got and may have even written about, and we'll blow them out and post them on our website, which will be up a little bit later in the semester. It's called The Lion's Roar. If you Google Lion's Roar in Penn State, you'll find some of our work. But that'll be up. But we had sort of a surprise moment as we got to know some of the people from FIFA. They asked some of our students to share their thoughts about what it was like to be at the World Cup. And so FIFA actually ran on its website a first person piece by Rafaela Pontes, a senior from Rio, Brazil, who was on the trip. She was the photographer who took the Rapinoe shot. And so she wrote about her story about covering the World Cup. And then we also had a couple of our other students, Matthew Gelhard, who was down in Dunedin, chipped in, and Luke Vargas. If you Google Penn State and World Cup and FIFA, you'll see that, and it's really moving. The students talking about what they got out of the experience.
John, you mentioned the Lion's Roar. If people out there watching are interested in getting more information about your work at the Curley Center, how would they go about finding that information?
We've got our own webpage on the Bellisario College site, and my email is jra14@psu.edu, jra14@psu.edu. So if you have any interest or you ever want to get in touch with me, feel free to do that.
John, we thank you for joining us on the virtual speaker series today. We're grateful that you allowed us to pass your story along to Penn State alumni.
Absolutely. I'm glad to get the chance to do it. I'm looking forward to a big season. I think there's a lot to look forward to, folks.
Thanks, John. That's all the time we have for today. Once again, I'd like to thank Professor Affleck for joining us. And I also want to thank all of you who turned out for the virtual speaker series. As a reminder, you can find more events like this on our website at alumni.psu.edu/events. Thank you for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are
Penn State.